Hey, good evening, everybody. I did chapter 14, Online Hate, a pro-social explanation of antisocial behavior and affordances of social media. I chose this chapter because I think it's something that, as a sports journalist or hopeful sports journalist that has posted stuff in sports about sports and social media already, I think it's something that you encounter frequently. I don't know if you've ever posted a take or something that you thought was interesting, whether it be, an interesting statistic about a player or something that you want to highlight the performance of somebody, and then you receive a lot of negative comments because people are just that way online. So I chose this chapter because I've encountered it frequently, and I just thought it'd be interesting. So the first thing that the text brings up is that social media facilitates a variety of social processes that exacerbate, spread, and organize hatred. That's essentially the definition of online hate. And what it does is it turns individual acts of hate into collaborative action, right? So you have more access to more people. You have algorithms that will continue to show you similar types of things, which get you involved with the same kinds of people. And then you turn that individual hate into collaborative action. It teaches people to hate via that same method, and then it encourages, implements, and makes visible hate. So those are all the things that precede these actions. So what is online hate? The text says that it's messages that direct anger and contempt towards a group of people. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward definition. These acts can threaten, demean, or humiliate, or intended to threaten, demean, and humiliate the people that it is directed towards. And this can inflict psychological stress about safety or esteem or reputation. And then frequently, this type of hate will be seen in the user generated comments at the end of an article or on Twitter. Usually the post itself or the content itself does not contain that kind of thing. And then the comment section is where things get pretty hateful. And that's definitely something that I've experienced prior to reading about this. So it kind of just confirmed my priors on that. So the text mentions that you can begin to predict online hate with using like a list of methods. So different characteristics, right? So I'm different than you, or this group of people is different than this one, and therefore we don't like you for that reason. Or something, a lot of these are very surface, like it's easy to think of these. I don't think this chapter is really hard to understand like some of the other chapters have been, because it's pretty surface level and it's all something that we've experienced before. So the list of this stuff is not anything groundbreaking, but it is good to go over. There's something that threatens or hurts self-esteem, like job rejection and romantic rejection. So if somebody has experienced those kinds of things recently, they want to, instead of looking inward and seeing where they could have done better, they want to point the finger and say, "Oh, this happened because of this happened because of that." Again, pretty surface level, something that we've experienced probably all in our lives at some point. And there's scapegoating, which I think kind of relates to the same thing, right? You something's not gone your way, and you want to place blame somewhere else. Social identification, or in other words, identifying with a group that antagonizes another, and they have that shared antagonization of another group of people or an out group. There is social learning, which is essentially just witnessing somebody else express hate, and then you therefore learn that action and that way of thinking. There's dehumanization, which is very straightforward. Everybody knows what dehumanization is. And then the next thing after that is moral disengagement. And I think that this kind of relates to dehumanization, because essentially what you're doing is you're suspending your moral code or your ethical code because you find someone less than yourself, which to me is just dehumanization. I think there's two different ways to say that. Then there's social facilitation, which is, I think it relates to social learning. Just the inverse of that is the way that I interpreted it. So in social learning, you learn something from someone else. It's the inverse of that, where you are the person that's teaching others how to hate. Social coordination. So this is where you start to see things like Reddit comments, right? So you have a bunch of Reddit's threads that essentially like-minded people will end up in the same area because an algorithm takes them there, and then everybody meets up, and then they've all kind of have this base level of hate, and then it builds all on itself. Um, and then there's social reward. So now I haven't experienced this in a hateful way, but it essentially the definition is recognition from an external source, in the form of likes or comments or something like that, because your other like-minded group, the people within that like-minded group, express um, like pride in you for doing that thing. So it's not hate related, but it's easy to imagine that kind of gratification in that context, because in my sports content, I'll comment on something about how the Eagles are doing really well in a particular area, whether it be pass rush or whatever, like some sort of metric, and I'll comment that on a post, and then people from not in the Eagles fandom will tell me I'm a piece of crap or whatever, and then like rag on me, and then in come the Eagles fans who then all comment their approval and like my message. It essentially is kind of the same thing, just in a non-hateful way. So I can kind of see how that would encourage people to hate more online. And then the last part I want to bring up from this chapter is a part of the conclusion, which says the gratifications that perpetrators garner from expressions of hate derive from the visibility of the acts to their social group of like-minded supporters, and from the overt and covert social reinforcements that those in the group provide to the perpetrator as friends, enabling the expression of hate actually to signal camaraderie, to arouse signals of social approval and friendship, and thereby experience emotional gratification. So I liked that quote because it talks about that last point that I made about social reward and recognition. Because that's something like I experience again in commenting on stuff about sports, and then you get the conflict of a bunch of people that don't agree, and then like it's called ratioing somebody, I think. All of your buddies then come in and comment, and you ratio somebody by getting more likes. So I think that that's a trivial way to talk about it, but I think that it is something that's easy to imagine. Thanks.